Homage to Shakyamuni Buddha, Manjushri, and all lineage masters. This rare, profound Dharma, rarely encountered in ages, is now before us. May I realize its true meaning, and for the benefit of all beings, give rise to supreme bodhicitta. Next, we will take a moment to discuss the Lotus Sutra. First, let's recite today's lineage. Javrtokam Tonga Lala, Jatit Parnamber Panjete, Psamon Cordon Tejan Lang Kanda, Niendam Lombo Tamcherapon, Jitin number Genji Jondon de Jivision Churum Chonjish, Nurm Kurno Rapta, Jonshi de Chadan Carvata, Jan Jopper Sheda, Tonton Jean Jok Songalan, No Gerlon Jirjan Notre Neta, Combaton Namson Jan, Long. Lala lunut katun shepa ga好像我这个眼睛有时候起作用，有时候不起作用。当中。还是有点的。当同学就生活拉拉的，这是到的一部单把那么上第一线的啦，那不过用是什想你儿都不写的，看起给人都把马里帮用工的你的学业那不大，我们不西边俺样点头呢，对了，小别这不工不呢。单把那拉刚说对了呢，对，人比像个他们家是呢，感觉对。Jar one jar pola, Gashi Tiran, Gava keeps it, Gava keeps it, Tiran, Gava Kiti, Jarwan Jarpola, Six of Japartongum number Toto, Jan Dan Danjan Terror Manjiba, Lala Sholam Chava Sherapta, Kanya Sola, Chujan River Sheda, Tune Teta Churnum, Zambaran Jar Yong Gum Dagny, Jarwan Chepor Nam. Lala taka dedang term tongwa, hui dang danzik chakchik zhima yi, chukchik shewa mangbo chur nam dan nam chokdo garti chur nam rapton jang, shangju sanhua mangbo yang dag dun nam topdang zhombar rapchim te chugir nga na shindu dong rapshit. Lala devrag shakbib tamba la, desa te lal hamil no zhindang, zhimbum cho jang gomsir manzin jang, nyem me de zhe jang, rab zhib shopam tong, parchir nagne tele, Vision Jantagatyan, Navigo, Lila Rapto, Te Semchin, Nyar, Semchin, Yarni, Semchin, Namdun Jan, Te Shanchib, Lion, Yantan Zat, Jaro Chepo, Lala Zonji, Ne, Kaji, Kajiki Jang Mali, Nyadpan, Ne, Chabar Shechan, Nasser, Nebatar, Te Zombi, Shanchim Cholaji, Lala Satam, Marar Chongatan, or Todo. Stardo number Norwegian Chanda, Lala Shapa Yonsur Zobrishida, Teto Chamji, Shanchim Cholaj, Jetela Labzupi Topjan, the Gelong Archanta Troad. Division Xiejang, Dugbagang, Zopra Shita, Zopete, Shanchim Chola, Jig, Dongtong, Shanchu, Sanhua Lalan, Semogawa, Tamcher Nampante, Shipi Trobor Namla, Namjiang, Yongpong, Ne, Pagbar Namdang, Trogam, Yambra Jagar, Nambrayang with Semner Nampang, Ne, Lorton Sheva, Nagdan Rasser, Na, Celsi Sem Subsountain, Shepar Nama, Dead of Sountain of Shanchim Chola, Jig, General Lopjan Yara. Ngonsumda zadang chadang devjin zedang kuma navir man manyon mambo ta kachik te trib jimbab jimbshipa genda na stub che yarwa ngonsumda deda kujin shiwa deda kuso ya deda kujya shiwa jimbar shida lala tongzho shiwa gyara dang rentang me bi kornum Stagdambar Rumboche dang devjin zandan ji xila khana shia yarshi ne standang marcha mambo jambar nam devrok shabar nam lam ngusumbar Gangara Yigung Sangmatang, Metom Jibber Nazo, Dambata, Tiva Kim Jonyantur Namala, Lala Nimber Jigshir Raptamber, Gafkir Nazo, Namba Mambota, Testa Jimber Jepana, Shenifjan Shiriam Somber Kid. Jimbe de Shanchim Chola Zi, Lala Zivi, Chujiang Ramchate, Huidang Tanzik Chok Tamai, Dedak Chuk Dong Zhang, Easy Dang, Dedak Easy Shanchim Chola Zi, Shepa, Mepi Churnam Rapsi Ne, Nime Rapsi, Namkam Sonja Va, Machel Dever, Shirbi Tribuna, Dedak Zero, Shanchim Chola Zi, Dr. Jayam Tongwan Jambiang, there's a Nyan Debi Dambala, Shanchu Senhua Dambama. Manshona, Yarang, Galaram, Drew, Cheta, Chutney, Tom Chok Manua, Chetar Congo, Lungu Shimash, Kungu Shivi, Janamata, Yanamba, Yatri, the Shit and Jibam Tom, Orange Namden, Choker, Jamsana, the Dina, Shiva Tonum, Joanna, Panda Horse, Gaston Shimbate, Corridana, Horse, Niston Youth, Nam Ger, Watan, Chepan Kormer. Zi zhidang zhizhwa yerkastak de chur medu zhidang devzhin sirnyin di lama zhimbo novzhin namdi imchot yong di xianga medu di babzhin detar chobzhi de damzi xie de rjari rang chur gaan de da la desa zhijin chub babzhi de ju rjari wuzir xigban de tangwe larabzhin jigten de daga rap geba dagdang chokchok xewa mangbo yi de nan devzhin de daga tamchidam tong gong wuzir xigba de Tangway, Janam Toncha Mambur Tomba de Gemarjevi Gemjo de Imto, Gemaishi Diache, Zuba, Meda, Madojon, Samin, Dunje, Ternam Tony, Dachagum Serkir, De Donam Jahora Ravno, Jahora Yanton, Jahoyan Raton, De Sanji, Chernama, Tesum, Gervasur, Korjan, the Rapto, Taxam Gasamgi, Huawakyo, Dalam Gumberta. Devra Sherbe Teran, Chi Sher Nandra, De Rapta, their Sertipo, Chuki, Longton, La, Ga, Kijan, Teson, number of Sur, Dr. Gozer, Getcher Ramta, Teda Chinji Tunda, Gera Jena, Devra Shabar Kiva Tambai, Shanchib Nyambo, Chum Chokani Ba, Tedan Jitin Gumbo, and Chatam, Chanchib San Juan, the Longton Nam, Jan Nama, Tomchotama, Kantan Snazo Rapta Java Renchin Gan Tai Ganjan Sandir Nam Snangwa Dona Chim Dona Machung Jirgir Kurmacha Jarati Shamba Country Ne Lama No Jumbo de Daga Jahrayan Chizi Longton Ji Kornum Jibo Teta Shender Dodo.
Today, we will continue our journey with the Lotus Sutra, taking time to further explore its profound teachings and reflect on the last time we also didn't manage to finish the ornament of the Great Vehicle Sutra. I think I've been at the Institute for over 30 years. Classes were only suspended for specific reasons. In my memory, this is the first time, because some things just couldn't be postponed. So you all recited the Samantabhadra's aspiration to noble deeds. That was also a very good last class. Today, we will continue with the Lotus Sutra. During this entire teaching process, the participants show great confidence. I believe that in the future, in the Han region, there should be a transmission lineage for the Lotus Sutra, and in the future there should be a new system for teaching and expounding the Dharma. Perhaps this will come to be because the transmission of a lineage doesn't happen in a day or two or even a year or two. If we look at it from the perspective of long-term history, I sincerely hope that those here, both monastic and lay practitioners, should certainly have the opportunity at some point in the foreseeable future transmitting the Lotus Sutra to others and to sincerely uphold practice and reflect on it. If we do not practice diligently, I am not sure about this, and I have not studied it, then it would be quite laughable for us to teach it to others. Therefore, we must first receive the transmission ourselves before anything else, so that in the process of learning and guiding others, we can achieve fulfillment. So this year, in all the classes at our institute, I did not specifically require everyone to act as tutors, but if even just a few of you are willing, you can seek out some tutors or Dharma teachers. It is fully voluntary. Otherwise, the courses at our institute are already very busy, so it would be really rather difficult. Therefore, if the Dharma teachers have time and the students are also actually interested, for example, during my lectures, if it seems that some parts are understood and others are not, then if the Dharma teachers provide additional guidance, perhaps things will become even clearer, because the content of the scriptures and treatises requires us to moving from unfamiliarity to familiarity and from familiarity to practice. After practicing, we can finally truly internalize and believe in it. This is really very important. So we had no special arrangements, because in the first half of the year, due to my health, many of this year's classes were also missed. Our Bodhi research class here has also not officially started yet. Let's wait a little longer and take things slowly. As for some matters within our institute, let's talk about them in more detail later. Next, I'll explain why we are studying the Lotus Sutra. Actually, I will elaborate more on the Lotus Sutra later on as well. If one upholds this sutra, there should be many benevolent white Dharma protectors and compassionate deities who frequently offer their protection. In an individual's present life, during the course of their current existence, it plays a significant role in cutting off and extinguishing afflictions. I recently came across a fascinating story like this in the ancient Buddhist treatise. In other words, the merit of reciting the Lotus Sutra. There was a bhikshu who recited sutras in a quiet place. He frequently enjoyed chanting sutras. This bhikshu, at this very moment, received very special respect and service, respectful service. Every time this humble bhikshu arrived, the king would lay his own hair on the ground so that the bhikshu could walk safely and steadily over it. Many practitioners genuinely and deeply felt regarding this particular bhikshu that they had noticed merit in him. He just liked to recite the scriptures, that's all. Why did the king treat him this way? Some people asked the king, so why was the king so respectful toward him? The king then explained the reason in detail. Once he especially wanted to meet this bhikshu, so he went to the location where the bhikshu was staying in order to see him, and found him in a Kavatha cave where the bhikshu was staying. At first he saw a mysterious, radiant, golden figure standing before him, shimmering in the light, riding a white elephant, standing there quietly and respectfully, with palms joined together toward him, as if seeking the true Dharma, searching with a sense of longing. Then, when he approached and got closer, the golden figure vanished from view. Later, when he asked the bhikshu about it, the bhikshu said, I recite the Lotus Sutra because in front of the Buddha, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva has already made a vow that whoever practices the Lotus Sutra, he will always protect and faithfully honor them. That's why Samantabhadra Bodhisattva personally came to pay homage to him. So from this, we can clearly see that some of our Dharma friends here who practice the Lotus Sutra throughout their lives, including many monastics, and we also sincerely hope that in the future this sutra will be highly valued and appreciated. No matter where you go, if you carry it with you or treat it as a wish-fulfilling jewel, in the end it will provide us with many valuable attainments. But if we treat it like waste paper, as if it's just discarded, even though it only has 80 or 90,000 words, not a large number, if we regard it as just some ordinary material, then the benefit it brings us will also be just ordinary. So the essential key is that our faith is in fact very important. Right now in our study of the ornament of the Mahayana Sutras, we are also discussing faith. Everyone here knows the various classifications of faith. So today I won't say much more. First of all, in order to simply and clearly help everyone develop faith, let's talk about the merit of upholding the Lotus Sutra. I hope when you have time, see Nagarjuna Bodhisattva, Great Perfection Wisdom, there are some truly, really wonderful stories in it. Many materials and case studies, many parables, many philosophical insights. All of these will help us gradually reduce our afflictions, wrong views, and arrogance. These will gradually and steadily be destroyed. Otherwise, some people's afflictions and prejudices are like a majestic, towering mountain. If we use only a simple method, it may not really be enough to completely pacify them. Sometimes we need to look from different angles. Why is it that in Buddhist scriptures, parables, philosophies, and theories explain the teachings? This is the reason, after all. Therefore, when we listen to teachings and study, it's also helpful to repeat and review them often. The more, the better. In this way, our mental continuum, which refers to the ongoing flow of our thoughts. And now, moving on, I just finished reciting the transmission. Next, Maitre Bodhisattva is about to ask Manjushri Bodhisattva a question. The content of his questions will be presented in the form of verses. Long text before now, it will be conveyed in the form of verses. At that time, they relied on Shakyamuni Buddha entering Samadhi and emitting light, illuminating the entire world. In the vast and boundless 18,000 worlds to the far east, stretching endlessly, there were countless bodhisattvas, Śrāvakas, Pratyekabuddhas, and wondrous scenes. They had already witnessed these. After seeing this, Maitreya Bodhisattva continuously asked Manjushri Bodhisattva, repeatedly questioning, while also carefully describing to him the various scenes and sights he observed outside at that particular time. Some of these were matters he practices like the 6 paramitas need discernment. Some were also, in fact, in the form of questions. He used both ways, addressing Manjushri Bodhisattva and the assembled retinue in the form of verses. There are verses and prose passages. As we mentioned earlier, these are specifically called scattered flowers and strung flowers. There is such a unique tradition in India, whether in writing or in daily life. For example, in our Tibetan region, the epic of King Geza, which is widely spread among the people, it also frequently alternates between verses and prose passages. This is also true for some long novels in Tibetan history, or when referring to certain major and influential styles of historical writing, which are recognized for their significant impact on the development. So what is it that is discussed next? Yesterday, we talked about the perfection of generosity. First, Maitreya Bodhisattva practiced the 6 perfections: generosity, morality, patience, diligence, focus, and wisdom. Then he uses a more interwoven approach, discussing generosity or wisdom. And in this way, the teaching session for today has been presented to you, bringing our lesson to a close in the manner we have just discussed. Maitreya said, Manjushri Bodhisattva, I have seen that in those lands there are many ministers and kings who go to the Buddha and inquire about the unsurpassed path. You see, when they go, they do not ask about worldly matters. In any way, how's your meal? How do you sleep? Usually, for us, ordinary people, what we talk about most with each other is probably, how are you eating? How is your health? What medicine do you really need to take? It's always like this. I don't want to answer phone calls because every call, honestly, ends up giving me something in some way, advice about health and wellness, such as, for example, everyone wants you should eat this. or you should do that. Sometimes I really feel, why do I even need other people to actually teach me how to eat and sleep? Really? Do I not even understand something as basic as this? So for us, worldly people, whether we are asking questions or interacting, it's often, in most cases, not directly related to liberation. It's about eating, drinking, and routines. But these people who went to the Buddha sought the supreme wondrous path. Moreover, they gave up what they loved most, their countries, palaces, ministers, wives, and concubines, and so on. Then, together, they went there to shave their heads and beards and put on the Buddha's traditional ceremonial monastic robes. What does this illustrate? It illustrates the practice of moral discipline. On the surface, it doesn't seem like he's directly talking about moral discipline here. But in reality, as we can see, in essence, this should be a kind of, because everyone really knows when you get there, you first carefully ask important, profound questions. Generally, when ordaining and practicing, everyone has their own different questions in life at some point. After these questions are resolved, only then can you go forth to ordain and practice. For all of us, perhaps when we first go to ordain, we ask this, that, including myself, I asked a lot when I ordained. Like in Lotus Garden, today you ask this, tomorrow you ask that. Some people answer, yes, you can. People say you can't ordain. People say ordaining is good. Some people say if you ordain, it will be very dangerous, and so on. There are all kinds of opinions out there these days, but later, eventually, everything is let go of. You go there to uphold truly pure precepts and don the Tathagata's robes. What is this talking about? The perfection of morality. Next, it briefly talks about the concept of the perfection of patience. It is also seen that some bodhisattvas take on the appearance of monks themselves, and they meditate alone in pure places, and also read scriptures, taking joy in reciting them. On the surface, this might not seem like patience, but in fact, it is actually as well. We know there are three types of patience, and among these three types, being a monk is actually also included. One must patiently endure various forms of evil, as well as all external harm. Without patience, it is simply impossible to truly be a monk, let alone even be a novice monk. Then, practicing alone in a quiet place is patient endurance for Dharma practice. And if you delight in reciting sutras, that too is a kind of patience toward the Dharma, toward emptiness, and toward the Mahayana teachings. So these three types of patience can in fact all be present here at the same time. Therefore, this can be explained as practicing the perfection of patience. Again, Maitreya Bodhisattva saw that in those lands, the Bodhisattvas were courageous and diligent. Diligence perfected, they are extremely enthusiastic and courageous in practicing virtuous deeds. Moreover, they enter especially pure and secluded deep mountains and forests, pondering the profound meaning of the Mahayana teachings spoken by the Buddha. Of course, practicing any method requires diligence. If you simply lack diligence, even if your wisdom is quite good overall, and your virtuous roots are strong, because of the lack of diligence and careful attention, in the end, your achievements may gradually decline over time. Recently, I've seen that many of our Dharma friends are taking oral exams, written exams, and recitation tests. Some I can personally attend, and some I learn about through other means from time to time. I feel happy about this. Everyone is indeed very diligent. Some people aspire and listen, contemplate. It seems that everyone's growth, when they arrived, they didn't understand, but over time, through their hard work and effort, now they truly understand many of these principles quite well. This makes me feel especially, truly, incredibly happy. Because the existence and unique significant value of our Buddhist Institute is precisely to cultivate more exceptionally talented individuals. Why establish Dharma halls? Why do we do this? Actually, these are not the ultimate goal. Our main purpose is to teach the Dharma to all, in this hall. After teaching the Dharma, we hope that many people, through different ways and methods, can enhance their wisdom in listening, contemplation, and practice. When wisdom from listening, contemplation, and practice reaches a level, it will continue to mature, accumulate, and settle. Once it has fully matured, they can benefit sentient beings in different, bringing benefit and positive impact to all beings everywhere. So I think that this time, in my opinion, it is also actually quite evident that overall everyone's consistent diligence and dedicated study have made progress. I have noticed that a few individuals who practice well in all aspects, for some unknown reason, apparently faced their karmic obstacles arise, or perhaps their virtuous roots have in some way been influenced by other conditions. Has it been controlled, or is there any other reason? For some, progress is not obvious and there may be signs of regression. Such phenomena, of course, this is very rare. I also hope that all parts of our country will be better, or in any corner of the world. Listening, contemplation, practice are a challenge. And it is indeed a long-term endeavor. If we do not persevere in the long run, once the habits of ordinary people arise, all virtues and sublime Dharma can quickly be swallowed up or completely submerged from sight. It is not really an easy thing. As for bodhisattvas have over countless eons patiently accumulated great spiritual merit and abundant resources. So it can be said that, as a matter of fact, they themselves indeed possess abundant innate wisdom and merit as their resources. For this reason, generally speaking, external circumstances do not have much impact on for ordinary people. Even if we became monastics or studied Buddhism, we may have met teachers and heard, but because the afflictions in our own mental continuum are deeply rooted and very strong, when we face external circumstances, we probably won't be able to overcome our afflictions. In most cases, finally I had to go along with the crowd. Then gradually everything disappears completely, and in the end we achieve nothing at all. As ordinary people, we must always constantly remind ourselves each and every day not to regress. Even if I don't progress, at least I can stay stable. Otherwise, for example, some of us, some academic monastics have struggled to ordain. They have truly and completely given up a lot. Their status, their wealth, and their families. Look at this about the king. He also gave up his palace, his paradise, all of these things. Actually, many of us are, in fact, the same. But if we ultimately do not succeed in our practice, we might end up with nothing at all. Both worldly and spiritual glory and wealth will have completely vanished. That's why I say that diligence is, without a doubt, very important. Next, it talks about meditation. Maitre Bodhisattva also saw that some people distance themselves from all desires, often dwelling in quiet, extremely peaceful and excellent places, meditating and thereby attaining the 5 kinds of supernatural powers. This is what we refer to as worldly meditation, worldly concentration. Among the 5 eyes and 6 supernatural powers, the last is the supramundane power. So the first 5 powers should be considered as results of worldly meditation. We are in moving forward, ordinary people meditation concept, as well as meditation on the nature of reality and so on. Among these types of meditation, the kind of meditation we are discussing is generally ordinary meditation, clarity, bliss, non-conceptuality. Then as for conceptual meditation in particular, there is also meditation on emptiness. And ultimately, all the bright, happy, empty attachments are gone. This is supreme realization. So some people have attained profound states of meditation. I hope many of us will also practice meditation, people all over the world, whether they are really religious or not, because life is especially busy and the pressure is extremely high. There really aren't many methods in the world that can help. Many people are indeed able to relieve some of their stress through meditation. So when we go out, whether it's to Western or Eastern countries, no matter where we go, people ask, can you teach us about meditation? we are exhausted, we don't want to live. Many people, including some university professors and government officials, so generally we don't talk about Buddhist meditation or Christian, we just have everyone practice meditation together. This brings happiness. We are still willing to do this, even though we may not be able to explain some of the Buddhist transcendental liberation meditations that possess both, as long as sentient beings, even if only for a short time, can relieve their stress and calm their minds so that they don't argue or fight with their colleagues at work and at home. People don't throw dishes or get into cold wars or heated arguments. This too is indeed a merit of our teaching and practice. So whatever they say, I am very obedient. For many of us here, should also make a habit of enjoying meditation. If you like meditation, when your own meditative state reaches a certain level, you really want to share it, and you start to feel that your own state is quite good, wondering if I can quickly find myself a disciple. I heard about a teacher who liked meditation. He often discussed meditation with his students. Later, the principal almost expelled us. It just gave a serious warning. Sometimes you also have to consider the environment, right? Some meditation in the secular world, we can't possibly have all the students skip their homework and go into retreat. Can we, students, enjoy? Because studying is actually quite tiring for them. So the teacher would say, you all meditate well, to all of you. We're all just really too tired this period. Close eyes, enter meditation, might fall asleep, while others, though they don't sleep, don't dare open eyes. If you just sit like this, you'll notice that 45 minutes can pass by very quickly, almost before you realize it. This is also a form of samadhi. I've even seen some bodhisattvas sitting peacefully with their hands in prayer, remaining deeply in meditation, in a state of deep calm and tranquility, using millions upon millions of verses to praise the Dharma King, the Tathagata, the Buddha, the enlightened one. This is the highest method of transcending the mundane world. They seem to be meditating and praising with, but to truly praise the Tathagata's virtues through meditative practice is an extremely advanced state. Zen means staying free from external forms. Concentration means staying steady inside. As stated in the Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch, there is no appearance outside. To be free from appearance is Zen. So what is Zen? There are no appearances outside. All appearances are illusory. If all appearances are gone, that is called Zen. Then internally, the mind is not disturbed. There is no greed, anger, or ignorance. Some of us are sometimes quite chaotic mind, chaotic body. When the body is chaotic, speech is chaotic too. Everyday life becomes a mess. In the Buddhist scriptures, it is said that those who are full of greed, anger, and ignorance, even their living space, their surroundings, everything is chaotic. So if our mind is very calm and deeply peaceful, even serene, in any occasion, we will feel as if we are in heaven, truly, very happy and joyful indeed. Indeed, as practitioners, we need to reach a certain state of mind. No matter what difficulties, pains, or setbacks we encounter in life along the way, or even happiness, glory and wealth, we may experience all kinds of things. But no matter what, if our mind remains composed, I'm afraid that, to be honest, for you, they simply won't have a significant positive or negative impact. You see here, some bodhisattvas also praise the Tathagata as well. We too, when practicing meditation, can use such verses in order to praise the Tathagata with great reverence. What is this talking about? This, in particular, specifically refers to meditative concentration. Next comes wisdom as the next important step. We also see bodhisattvas who possess profound wisdom and unwavering vows and are always able to ask the Buddha many questions in front of all the Buddhas. And after carefully receiving the Buddha's answers to his questions, he would completely and thoroughly listen, understand, and uphold them. He would willingly accept and carefully remember every answer he received, thoughtfully recording them all. In fact, truly wise people, it's important they ask others questions. It is often the case that Wise people will raise very profound questions, and when wise people receive answers from others, they take them very seriously. Sometimes, when I go to schools, some people ask random questions, improvising. It seems like there's really nothing much to answer at the moment. They haven't really thought about it, and it's not even a real question. Even if I give them an answer, they just don't seem to remember it. In the future, whether we're asking Dharma teachers or counselors, first of all, when you want to ask a question, in other words, the question you ask should be a bit more pointed. Otherwise, it's not really asking a question. It should truly be your doubt, something that really matters to you, something in your practice, in your life. Ask about the thing that's the hardest for you to resolve. Otherwise, it's like passing by. Have you eaten yet? Are you leaving, by the way? How are you feeling? Do you feel comfortable today? Just wondering. What do you think of the weather, by the way? There's really nothing worth asking about these things, right? If you truly have some profound questions, after you ask them, look at these bodhisattvas. After asking, they all uphold and practice the answers. We can indeed see this from history as well. There were disciples around, some masters in history, who would often ask their masters questions and humbly, respectfully request teachings. For example, among Mipham Rinpoche's disciples, people asked Mipham Rinpoche questions and requested him to write treatises. As a result, such precious Dharma treasures have been preserved. Many of Master Tsongkhapa's disciples did the same. So here as well, as you can clearly see, wisdom often operates in this way. This is within the perfection of wisdom. We see that the Buddha's children are endowed with both wisdom and meditative concentration. They teach the true Dharma to sentient beings using analogies, and moreover, their teaching of the Dharma is not done reluctantly. Some of our Dharma teachers must, even though they are exhausted or in poor health, but unfortunately there's nothing they can do, just keep leading the class this year. Next year, new person takes, otherwise I can't manage. Now they're old, tired, and not in good health, with heart problems, lung problems, liver problems, for example, in particular. There are just so many reasons, truly, honestly, and they don't really like to teach the Dharma, but the Bodhisattvas here are not like that. They use countless analogies and many, many reasons to explain, and when it comes to teaching the Dharma, they're especially willing, like His Holiness, who throughout his life was very happy to teach the Dharma. Moreover, he would guide these transformed bodhisattvas, providing careful teaching and patient guidance to a large number of beginner bodhisattvas, helping, because these bodhisattvas explain, they guide new bodhisattvas they dispel many armies of demons. Through teaching and expounding the Dharma, the armies of evil demons and heretical paths naturally disperse. Moreover, for the sake of sentient beings, they beat the great Dharma drum and turn the Dharma wheel. This is really very important. When the Tiantai school talks about wisdom, such as it refers to the threefold contemplation in emptiness, conventionality, and the middle. One is emptiness, one is conventionality, and then the middle. It seems that from what we can observe in their school, this is also considered to be of great importance and highly valued. Emptiness in essence means that all phenomena have no true nature. All dharmas arising from conditions are empty. What exactly is conventionality really? All dharmas from conditions are named and provisionally established. They do not possess a real inherent nature. Then what after all is the middle? The emptiness of ultimate truth and the appearance of relative truth. The middle way is the non-duality and inseparability of these two. Actually, in fact, this originates from the well-known Bodhisattva Nagarjuna's treatise, the Mulamadhyamaka Karika, as well. I say that all things arising from conditions are empty. All conditioned phenomena are empty. They are also merely provisional names, and this is also the meaning of the middle way. So, how is this explained here? All dharmas arising from conditions are emptiness. They're conventionally named, so convention is here too. Ultimately, this is also called the middle way. In the Tiantai sect of Chinese Buddhism, the three views, emptiness, falsehood, and the middle way, represent key philosophical. I hope everyone will please make sure to remember this. When we study the Tiantai school, they have their own very specialized and distinct terminology. But actually, whether it's in the Sanlan school or in Tibetan Buddhism, the ultimate truth and conventional truth, luminosity and emptiness, are inseparable. Terminology differs. In reality, they should all actually be quite similar. Therefore, when we talk about emptiness, in this context, we will understand that only with wisdom and meditative concentration can one perhaps give countless analogies. For instance, all of you present here as well, as always, should accumulate more and practice regularly during your study and cultivation. Whether you are lay or monastic, if you only want to be a practitioner in name, so to speak, then you can just get a certificate of refuge and wear a kasaya, but inside it's all empty. It's just like when we go into a department store and see many mannequins. They look just like real people, but in reality, they have no true consciousness or flesh and bones inside. Whether we are lay practitioners or monastics, some people are only practitioners superficially, while others possess meditative concentration, inner wisdom, and an altruistic heart within. On one hand, as we mentioned earlier, as we have discussed, these are the ripening of seeds from past life. Through spiritual friends and an environment of listening, contemplation, and practice, when the surrounding conditions come together, these qualities can be developed, and gradually, over time, as the necessary conditions continue to develop and mature. So what exactly is being discussed here? It is absolutely essential to remember these fundamental and very important principles and concepts of all phenomena. The 6 paramitas mentioned above should be practiced in sequence. The following may not be practiced in sequence. They may, in certain situations, appear in a mixed or overlapping manner. Next, it talks about meditation. It describes seeing bodhisattvas who dwell there in peaceful, serene tranquility and silence. At this time, many beings, such as gods, nagas, and yakshas, show them respect, praise him, make offerings to him, etc. However, these bodhisattvas in meditation don't feel joy nor anything else, nor do they suffer because of others' slander or feel happy because of others' praise. They simply do not. Because when they have attained a certain level of meditative concentration, in fact, rumors spread about them by others or being wronged by others, these things simply truly do not matter to them at all, not in the slightest. Because we ourselves have not reached such a state of meditative concentration, it seems that when someone praises us today, we feel extremely happy and joyful. Even our expression changes, even our appetite for food is good. But if someone gently points out your faults today, perhaps in a constructive way, how have you been? You lose your appetite and mood worsens. Even your teaching doesn't go well, and when you walk, you stagger along unsteadily. It feels as if there's no meaning to living in this world at all. The whole world seems dull and colorless. It feels as if everyone around you is like a wrathful Vajra being. This is truly because, in fact, our own deep and profound inner realization, especially in our daily lives and actions. We see bodhisattvas also meditating who dwell deep in the forest and radiate light. The previous example was worldly meditation. When one practices it, it's like Hinayana meditation. Whether others praise them, they simply remain unmoved. When slandered, they stay unmoved. Then there are some bodhisattvas who dwell in the forest, their bodies radiating light through meditative visualization, and they rescue beings from the hell and hungry ghost realm so that they enter the path of Buddhahood. This is the meditation method of the Mahayana Bodhisattvas. When we practice in our daily lives, we also make aspirations, wishing all sentient beings may be liberated soon. In fact, it is truly important for us to genuinely practice the Mahayana teachings. I hope that in our habits and daily lives, we often speak about this, saying it matters. Some people say that speaking about it is useless, that only realization matters. Actually, that's really not the case either. For ordinary people, many actions have a direct effect on their mind. Take, for example, the many elderly women in our Tibetan regions who patiently spin prayer wheels. As they gently, slowly, and reverently spin the prayer wheels, they recite to liberate all sentient beings, as boundless as the sky, wishing for their rebirth in the pure land of ultimate bliss. Om Mani Padme Hum, softly echoing. In this way, in fact, actually, their words and their minds are turning together moving in sync as each thought is spoken aloud. This is also, in fact, actually a method. So you see here during meditation, there is also the visualization of light. Sometimes in the process of meditation, Mahayana meditation practices, visualize your body shining light, imagining that the suffering of many beings in hell disappears and wishing they attain happiness. Then the power of meditation, the blessings of the Buddha, the power of aspiration, with power of virtuous roots, karmic, when many favorable conditions come together, you can truly bring benefit to sentient beings. For some beings look at some impoverished places, if a fortunate opportunity arises quickly, in fact, this is also inseparable from the blessings of many bodhisattvas. Then moving on, it specifically talks about diligence, in particular in the next section. I also saw Buddhist disciples who did not sleep and were very diligent, and walking in the forest, earnestly seeking the Buddha's path. This refers to the Pratutpanna Samadhi. In the Han regions, for 90 days, people walk while reciting the Buddhas. But generally speaking, we are not lazy and do not sleep. And we often walk in the forest, meditate and chant, diligently cultivating in this way. This is also a very important and noteworthy aspect of diligence. As for our diligence now, at this very moment, many people are diligent at the very beginning, especially at first. When I thoughtfully look back on the journey and path I have walked myself over the years, I admire eminent monks, great masters who have been diligent throughout their entire lives. Up until the very moment they finally closed their eyes, they never gave up their persistent, diligent practice. But some people may be more diligent when they are young, and then gradually they are lured away by worldly trivialities. So I hope that everyone will make a sincere aspiration with all your heart. Now that I have carefully chosen the path of studying Mahayana Buddhism, I still absolutely need to work hard and practice diligently each and every day. In letter to a friend and other, we do not sleep during the first and last parts of the night and only sleep during the middle part. But nowadays, some people's lifestyles are quite turned around. They sleep during last part of the night, stay awake during first and middle parts. Now, in many cities, young people, I usually start sleeping at 2 o'clock in the morning each night. Some people may, well, at times perhaps, in any case, have their days and nights completely flipped. Some people may have no choice because of work reasons. But no matter what, everyone has their own lifestyle. These are simply things that we really don't need to change. There are certain habitual ways, certain afflictions. If in the past someone was like a night owl, maybe they couldn't sleep at night but could sleep during the day. This is also related to one's own habits and karmic connections from previous life. Next, it should be about precepts. It is also seen that some bodhisattvas possess pure precepts. These precepts and dignified conduct exist. This is relatively coarse. Generally, in the Theravada tradition, precepts and deportment are considered to be highly valued. When walking or speaking, sometimes there is a bit of pretense involved. They pay great attention when others are watching. But when no one is watching, they are more relaxed. The other day, I've heard someone say that he went to seek alms in the Han regions. When he finally arrived in Chengdu, he became noticeably more relaxed. After leaving Chengdu, became mindful of deportment. His benefactors were in other cities. So for themselves, maybe in their own way, nowadays our society is indeed quite complex, so we can't just ignore these things. A pure mind is important, but indeed, in our Tibetan Buddhism, sometimes it seems that in the world today, Tibetan Buddhism is the fastest growing and most widespread global phenomenon. Sometimes when we look at some people in Tibetan Buddhism, mainly because of personal interests, due to personal reasons, there are many quite complicated issues. In the Han region, these problems are common and recurring. It's not that Buddhism has this problem, but among those who practice Buddhism, things are indeed rather chaotic. I hope everyone will pay attention to this point. For example, some people will take a photo with a certain lama or a certain tulku, for instance, and then use this photo as the foundation or basis, for example, as evidence for being a teacher. Some people have a tulku certificate, but actually getting a tulku certificate is not necessarily that difficult. Various tulku certificate categories. It's just like the faith we talked about the other day. There are all kinds of faith. So the official document known as the Living Buddha Certificate, whether now or in the past, getting a tulku certificate. If I had wanted to get a tulku certificate in the past, it actually wouldn't have been a problem at all, as long as I pulled some strings, So tulku certificates are also quite complicated because of fake tulkus. This has actually brought about a significant amount of criticism and considerable controversy to Tibetan Buddhism. Even now, in the Nyingma tradition, which is one of the oldest schools of Tibetan Buddhism, for those who are wealthy, famous, or have status in our society, whether they are from Han regions or the West, all of them request a recognition by the monastery as the reincarnation of some master from a previous life. It's possible that in some cases some are reincarnations, but it's not necessarily the case. There are many different issues involved, because for some people, we completely understand what kind of person they're. They don't possess basic virtues. They don't possess virtues of a secular person. But when they go to a certain monastery or to a certain lama, they are very quickly and quite easily recognized as a living Buddha. In the past, the Gelug tradition of Tibetan Buddhism was somewhat better, but now in Qinghai, as well as in Ganzi Prefecture and some other places, some lamas and old geshes of the Gelug tradition are holding long khatas, presenting them to these major patrons, helping them hold so-called enthronement ceremonies for living Buddhas and so on. Among the previous generations of living Buddhas, there were some truly remarkable ones. Even now, there are a few truly outstanding living Buddhas, and this is something we should acknowledge. It is important to know that, and we should not overlook this fact. But perhaps when considering the situation carefully, it is actually the majority of these individuals who fall into this category are not necessarily genuine living Buddhas. Therefore, you can actually see many things for yourselves. For example, you might notice them quite clearly. There is no true propagation of the authentic Dharma, nor is there wisdom or meditation or keeping precepts. Moreover, some of the things they end up doing may be harmful to the Dharma, to society. Some behaviors detrimental to both Tibetan Buddhism and Chinese Buddhism. It's not really all that hard for most people to actually notice or see this, is it? Therefore, pure observance of the precepts should follow Mahayana and Theravada teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha is extremely important. But nowadays, many people, especially many confused lay practitioners in the Han regions, as long as they have a letter of introduction or even simply a single photograph, if that is all you have available, a very simple method, very quickly and immediately attracted. In the end, it may lead to the ruin of both themselves and others. I've actually talked about this before as well, as I mentioned earlier. I hope when relying on a spiritual teacher, pay attention to this. Actually, the so-called lama simply refers to a teacher, that is someone who imparts knowledge. If someone is to be a teacher, what kind of qualifications do they need? Is just having a teaching certificate enough? But this teaching certificate, even our current driver's licenses, as they exist today, can actually be forged. And now some teaching certificates are also fake. But if this is really truly actually some Buddhist practice, discipline, and is endowed with these qualities, and if they lead others with Buddhist principles, then perhaps it is acceptable. But aside from this, if you're not careful, all your precious, valuable, irreplaceable, cherished youth, time, energy, and wealth might all be given away. And in the end, without liberation, realization. Even if you do not achieve spiritual realization, as long as you connect to virtuous teachings and the three jewels, that is also acceptable. But sometimes what you end up with are wrong views, regret and disappointment, and that is truly, really, absolutely, most certainly, without question or pity, without a doubt. Indeed. Last year, there were also some issues regarding fake tulkus, such as the so-called Baima Aoze and related matters. Perhaps everyone is already very aware of this, as you might expect, actually. These things happened at the time, and it seems they no longer exist now. But in any case, this is just one example among countless others. So if we are not careful, even a small mistake, what is called Tibetan Buddhism may not necessarily in reality be like this
But when Tibetan Buddhism is in the hands of others, various people start to make use of it in various ways. As a result, the true original face of Tibetan Buddhism is completely transformed into something else. In this case, what it brings us in particular, whether it is benefit or harm, is hard to say. That is why I say everyone should first study the Dharma systematically and thoroughly. You basically know what the Dharma is, what spiritual practice is, taking refuge and relying on a qualified teacher. You learn Mahayana Buddhism. These principles clarify gradually. Once you understand them and practice, understand relying on a spiritual teacher. At that point, serving, making offerings, showing respect, and paying homage all become simple to do. So, as mentioned earlier, one who possesses pure precepts and unblemished conduct, their conduct is flawless, but their minds are as pure as a wish-fulfilling jewel. There are also many bodhisattvas who seek the path in this way. Then there are also some Buddhist disciples who cultivate the power of patience. The arrogant people beat them and they all started to curse. They are indeed able to endure everything, each and every one by one. They are seeking the path to Buddhahood. This refers to the middle part here. The previous part talked about upholding precepts, and this part is about patience. Next, it goes on to talk about meditation. In particular, I saw the Bodhisattva distant from jokes and laughter and distance themselves from deluded companions while drawing close to wise and virtuous teachers. With single-minded focus, they eliminate distractions and through meditation maintain right mindfulness and clear awareness. In forests and deep mountains, they seek the path to Buddhahood for many years, remaining undisturbed in forests and caves with unwavering concentration. Through regular meditation and mindfulness. To gather and focus their thoughts is to collect and control the mind. Through such right mindfulness and meditation practice, they seek the path to Buddhahood over many years. This is what is meant by meditation. Next, it talks about generosity. Again, we see bodhisattvas offering an abundance of delicious and nourishing food with 100 different kinds of as offerings to the Buddha and the monastic community. This refers to offerings in terms of food. In the Han regions, the 4 requisites for offering are often mentioned, which are food, clothing, bedding, and medicinal soup. We often talk about these 4 requisites. They're also mentioned in many scriptures. Earlier, we talked about offering food to the monastic community and the Buddha. There are also many bodhisattvas who use clothing as offerings, especially luxurious clothing that is worth millions, as well as priceless treasures and other valuable items, all of which are offered extremely valuable items. Nowadays, there are many such things in the world. Some fellow Tibetans from our region went to Chengdu, heard a few villagers. They insisted on buying some nice clothes. Then someone gently took them there. One of the villagers said, "It has to be something really, truly nice. Please, if you don't mind, just turn off your phones for me. Right now, okay? Don't close eyes." Closing your eyes might seem like a way to avoid distractions, but it doesn't actually remove the things that can interrupt your focus. To really help yourself, and closing your eyes isn't as effective as covering your ears. So a few villagers wanted to buy really good clothes. Some people, for instance, took them to Ito-Yokado, as well as to Carrefour for shopping purposes, in order to meet their needs, which are considered pretty nice places. When they saw the surprisingly high prices, they simply couldn't believe that clothes could, in fact, be quite that expensive. They thought the person who brought them there was a bad guy. They couldn't believe a single piece of clothing could cost millions. It just seemed impossible. This might have happened. Clothes worth tens of millions were all offered to the Buddha, and the monastic communities were garments. There were also tens of millions of sandalwood treasures, countless halls and bedding. All of these were offerings to the Buddha and the monastic community. There were also pure, breathtaking gardens, lush and vibrant with flowers and fruit, pure springs, tranquil bathing pools, and other similar natural water features, all known for were all offered to the Buddha and the monastic community. If one makes offerings and gives in this way, it is all kinds of subtle, wonderful acts. Just now, we mentioned clothing, food, bedding, as well as different kinds of medicinal soups, various aspects of natural beauty, the surrounding environment, and so on. Moreover, joyful and never weary, meaning that in making offerings and practicing, one is joyful and never tired, always seeking the path to Buddhahood. But for us now, when we practice a little, sometimes we get tired. Lacking a joyful heart is the greatest obstacle. Teaching or expounding, I think many of our Dharma teachers are actually quite remarkable. I'm not just flattering them for the sake of it, truly. I mean, infamously, that's really not the case at all, I assure you. It should be said that in our institute, there are many Dharma teachers who have explained Dharma 10 or 20 years, unwearying. This is very important. We have many Dharma teachers and others, although at times it is true that they don't really do very well but their spirit of seeking the Dharma is excellent. They have always and will always enjoy taking exams. They are always extremely enthusiastic and genuinely eager about listening, studying, and thoughtfully contemplating in each and every classroom session. Actually, in my opinion, this is also, in fact, really very good. Not everyone needs high scores. Those scoring high, in the end, still do certain things, including students from Tsinghua, Peking University, Harvard and Columbia, who also act in ways that are not in accordance with the Dharma. Sometimes people with a long-term love for listening, studying, and contemplating the Dharma. I've also noticed among some of our older Dharma friends, when I say older, I don't mean you're already so old that it's, honestly pretty pitiful or anything like that. But Dharma friends who have stayed in the Institute for a long time, they truly have a strong spirit of seeking and teaching the Dharma. It's very important to have a joyful heart and not to feel weary. This is really about generosity. Perhaps we've talked a bit more about generosity. Next, what we'll talk about now is wisdom. Actually, the structure I just used, Master Zizé in his commentaries has a slightly different approach in some places. There are some differences, and I've made my own adjustments. Some bodhisattvas begin by teaching others the Dharma of quiescence and emptiness, using various philosophies and analogies, as it's described in Tibetan, to guide countless, boundless sentient beings, explaining the essential principles of quiescence and cessation. Some bodhisattvas teach about carefully and deeply contemplating the true nature of all phenomena, the emptiness of all phenomena, their non-duality, just like empty space. Teach Dharma gate emptiness. Some abide in and contemplate states as vast as space. Some bodhisattvas observe the mind as free of attachment and seek the unsurpassed path with sublime wisdom. These are just some of the various different kinds of things and activities that the bodhisattvas who dwell within his land in that realm regularly do, for example, on a regular basis. Maitreya Bodhisattva said, Manjushri Bodhisattva, there are some bodhisattvas who make offerings to the stupas containing the relics after the Buddha's parinirvana. After the Buddha's passing, his relics are enshrined in jeweled stupas and offerings are made to them. There are also bodhisattvas who build various stupa temples for the relics, just like King Ashoka in the past, who, after the Buddha's nirvana, built many stupas for the relic. They adorned the entire land like the sands of the Ganges River. Just like in Thailand, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar today, currently there are stupas everywhere in the cities, Buddhist pagodas all around. Actually, this is very solemn. Every time there is a significant Buddhist festival, including the current Buddha's birthday holiday, every monastery, monk's residence, temple, and stupa, there are so many of them. By comparison, Tibetan regions should be quite similar as well in general. Last year, a journalist said that within less than 5 kilometers, he saw a white stupa, and within 5 kilometers, he saw a temple with a gold roof. He said, so what kind of place are the Tibetan regions really? I told him if you go to places, you might feel it even more strongly because cities in Thailand are relatively dense and there are an incredible number of truly remarkable stupas and temples there. So for the whole country, for the entire land, having as many pagodas and temples, it is extremely majestic. This is also the result of the merit, blessings, and karmic connections of sentient beings coming together. And then seeing these magnificent, ancient, majestic stupas that are 5,000 yojanas tall. As I've mentioned before, 5,000 yojanas is a symbolic expression, meaning very tall. Their width and length are also 2,000 yojanas each. Each stupa and temple standing tall actually has all kinds of jeweled banners, precious canopies, and some are decorated with pearls. Inside, there are many jeweled bells that, when blown by the wind, this instrument is known to produce especially elegant and refined sounds, captivating listeners with its beautiful tones and remarkable clarity whenever. There are also devas, dragons, yakshas, humans, and non-humans who often come to make offerings holding various fresh flowers, burning incense, and playing musical instruments. Purpose this time. One is to go through Lotus Sutra. Literally everyone can have a good time. Because the translation by Kumarajiva, some parts are easy to understand. So the main objective we're setting for everyone, for each and every one of you this time, for this particular round, is that you should be able to explain the text literally. Actually, compared to Pramana, Madhyamaka, and Abhidharmakosha, I think this is relatively simple. For those in the 5 treatises class at the Institute, I think it shouldn't be a problem. As for others, I'm not sure about the lay practitioners, but we need a better system for lectures and exams. Whenever there's mention of lectures and exams, everyone becomes very serious. Once in our lecture and exam class, I said, tomorrow we'll have an exam on the ornament of the sutras. While lecturing, I noticed no one looked at my face. Everyone was just staring at the ancient Dharma text like this. I wondered, why can't I see anyone around me today for some reason? It turned out that everyone was actually making notes down below. But on days when there's no exam, everyone is much more relaxed these days. So having lectures and exams really makes a difference. Next it says in the following words, the Bodhisattva Manjushri, along with so many other bodhisattvas, in order to make offerings to the relics, built all kinds of awe-inspiring and magnificent stupas and temples, adorning, embellishing, and further beautifying them in remarkable ways. Maitreya Bodhisattva told Manjushri Bodhisattva, and they have a great impact on the natural environment of the entire country, bringing great and wonderful. Perhaps this phrase, the land's natural environment, is especially unique and beautiful. For the land's natural environment, I checked many sources. But honestly, I still don't really feel completely satisfied with the results I got from them. In many cases, some great masters of the past didn't really explain it very well. They just skipped over it. Some gave rather mediocre, somewhat unremarkable explanations when asked. This is also, in fact, the case in the Tibetan texts. Indra, the king of the gods, has a tree called the celestial tree king. This tree king, standing tall and proud, will soon bloom just as nature intended. Here, the comparison or analogy is that it is like the celestial tree king in full bloom in all its glory throughout the entirety of the country, as well as all of its surrounding areas, regions, and nearby territories. There are stupas and temples, all beautifully and magnificently adorned. This is probably how it should be explained, in essence. Then, moving on to the next part, let's continue. Let me just quickly check the time. Should we maybe recite the lineage together now, or is there perhaps something else that we should do instead? What do you think? Let's finish explaining this verse first. With a gentle and thoughtful expression, Maitreya Bodhisattva slowly and gently tells Manjushri Bodhisattva, this time, when the Buddha emitted this radiant light, I and the entire assembly saw 18,000 realms to the east, each displaying amazing qualities. The power of the Buddhas and this kind of wisdom are rare. Emitting such pure light, illuminating all the Buddha lands in the eastern countries, we witnessed such an absolutely unprecedented and truly extraordinarily rare and remarkable scene. We hope that today, Manjushri Bodhisattva, it is your turn to answer and dispel our doubt. Why did the Buddha enter Samadhi and emit light? Why did we witness such extraordinary scenes in the East? Earlier, the various analyses of the 6 perfections by the Bodhisattvas have already been explained. As I mentioned, in the future, some practitioners among us should try in the process of interacting and conversing with each other to relate everything to their practice, to wisdom and to compassion. Topics related to our future endeavors and benefit are certainly very important. It's fine to sometimes chat about food, drink, and entertainment, but it shouldn't be what we talk about all the time. If all our conversations are just useless words, then it's not very meaningful either. So Manjushri Bodhisattva, of course, We cannot compare ourselves to Manjushri Bodhisattva or Maitreya Bodhisattva, but when we witness such unprecedented and rare events, today, Manjushri Bodhisattva, it should be you who helps us resolve our doubt. When they clear up their confusion, according to the Time Tai school's view, in order to prevent Manjushri Bodhisattva from refusing to answer, they preemptively and thoroughly prevent or block any and all excuses he might possibly make in any way. So Maitreya Bodhisattva is quite clever. First, he ensures Manjushri Bodhisattva doesn't say, I don't want to answer today. Honestly, I think you all should understand. When people are asked questions, many often refuse to answer. So to prevent such refusals, there are 4 aspects that follow. First, it is said that the fourfold assembly of disciples is looking up with great joy today, eyes open, watching. Ren refers to Manjushri Bodhisattva, you and me. All the fourfold assembly of disciples are attentively watching the two of us at this very moment. Why did the world-honored one emit such a light? This shows that Manjushri Bodhisattva, you have responsibility. Everyone is watching you closely. Their hopes are still pinned on us, so it really should be you who answers. I've already said everything I should and everything I've seen. Next, you can't just say that it's someone else. You really can't simply shift the blame to another person. It is important to understand that the response does not come from Ananda or from Kashyapa. Neither Ananda nor Kashyapa is the one who provides the answer in this situation. The answer is not given by either of these two individuals. It should be the two of us, and among us, it's you who should answer. That's the first point. Then, secondly, if you are responsible for answering, at this time you should answer. Now is the time to respond. Now all doubts should be resolved so that everyone is delighted. Why does the Buddha, with such boundless compassion, benefit these sentient beings, offering them guidance and emit such radiant, illuminating light? But there's also concern that Manjushri Bodhisattva might say, it's not urgent right now. When the time comes, I'll answer you all. So Maitreya Bodhisattva says, well, now, you should now. Many people have this question, so you need to resolve this doubt so that in the end everyone can be happy. Before the Buddha emerges from samadhi, you should hurry and answer. Why did the Buddha emit light? Hurry up and answer this is the second point. Then the third one, the dharma that the Buddha attained while sitting in such a dharma assembly, is it to expound this dharma or is it to bestow predictions for the future? In the Lotus Sutra, part of it gives prophecies, and part of it also expounds this wonderful dharma. But why say it this way, though? Because Maitreya Bodhisattva is worried. Manjushri Bodhisattva might say, this is an extremely profound state of the Buddha, and I cannot answer. Just afraid of this kind. If he were to ask a simple question, today emitting this kind of light, is Buddha to teach dharma or predict? If it were a relatively simple question like this one, for example, Manjushri refuses not. Oh, what kind of dharma is about to be taught? Because Manjushri Bodhisattva is very clearly understands completely. So in order not to refuse, or perhaps because the Buddha's intention is too profound, both 10th ground bodhisattvas, but neither of us is able to grasp it, wait until the Buddha emerges from samadhi. He was quite afraid to say this, so without hesitation, he didn't make Manjushri Bodhisattva wait at all. Then the fourth point, manifesting the Buddha land. The land is adorned with pure and precious jewels, and one can see all the Buddhas. This is no small condition. This is not a minor cause and condition. He was afraid Manjushri Bodhisattva would say this question isn't very important. Or perhaps, let's just talk about something else. Let's not answer this matter for now. He couldn't really say that at all. Well, why not, though? After all, Maitreya Bodhisattva said yes. Today, the Buddha is manifesting such a pure Eastern Buddha land, allowing all of us to see it clearly at a glance. This arising of conditions is truly extraordinary. There must be a truly significant cause and condition at work, without a doubt. Manjushri Bodhisattva must understand this cause and condition, because in the past he made offerings to countless Buddhas before countless Buddhas. He was able to witness the countless Buddhas and all sorts of rare and auspicious signs. So indirectly, it was implied that Manjushri Bodhisattva should be the one to answer. He had no way to refuse. His attempts to decline were blocked. He said today's occasion is not an ordinary event. such a cause and condition, whether for other arhats, kings, ministers, bhikshus, or bhikshunis, it's likely that none of them are able to respond. It should be you, Manjushri Bodhisattva, who uses your wisdom, venerable one. Then now, Manjushri, the fourfold assembly of disciples, and the gods, dragons, yakshas, and others, were all watching him intently to see how he would answer these questions. Manjushri Bodhisattva understood that. Maitreya Bodhisattva asked him to respond. So after this, in the next session, we'll see how Manjushri Bodhisattva answers. Usually, we have a first part, middle part, and last part, or perhaps at some point in between, somewhere in the middle there, is a brief pause. So everyone, please wait in anticipation. That's all for today, teaching.
Sonandai tamse thobaya tonani de dhamma pasit jirgana jirano chupan chupun thonen droa droa
Bandharangara Badna Sadarda Bandharangara Badna Sadarda Bandharangara Badna Sadarda